Bluegrass Jam Along is proud to be sponsored by Collins Guitars and Mandolins, each and every one built from the sound up in Austin, Texas. Hi, this is Matt, and you're listening to Bluegrass Jam Along, the podcast for anyone and everyone who loves bluegrass. Hey everybody, welcome back to Bluegrass Jam Along. This is your Bluegrass Briefing for November 2025. And first things first, I would love to hear from you. This is the second of these monthly briefings. I used to do them every week, which became a little bit too much to sustain, so I'm doing them monthly now. But I'd love to hear how that's going for you. If people are enjoying it, if it's too much info in one go, let me know. Like, all feedback is good. I'm not against the idea of doing them weekly again, but it's more manageable to do them once a month. But I'm keen to know if this feels useful. You can contact me at matt@bluegrassjamalong.com, or you can find me on various social channels, all that kind of stuff. Just be really interested to know what you think. What else? Podcast stuff. So yes, I've gone to one episode a week from now on, with the first of the month being this Bluegrass Briefing format, and we'll get onto the content of that in a minute. But if you've missed it, recent things on the podcast, I had a great chat with Darryl Anger about Diary of a Fiddler Volume 2. That's on the podcast if you want to go and check that. If you missed it, that was a lot of fun. I love talking to Darryl. He's fun, he's generous, he's interesting. He is just a fascinating character who has been in the thick of this music for a long time, and it is a treat to talk to him, and I really enjoyed that one, so do go and listen back if you missed it. I also put out a bite-sized episode featuring Chris Eldridge just chatting about Tony Rice, and it came from one of the episodes I did about Church Street Blues a couple of years ago, and I've been listening back to various bits, and I just pulled that one out. Really interesting little chat. If you missed that, I'd have listened to that as well. Lots of stuff coming up towards the end of this year, just finalising some timings to talk about things now. So I'll let you know more about those in due course. But tonight, as we record this, I am chatting to Eddie Barbash. Now, Eddie might seem like an unlikely candidate for interview. He's a sax player, plays in Stephen Colbert's band on The Late Show. He's played a lot with Corey Wong, but he's also toured with Sierra Hull, and he is in the process of releasing a record of him playing fiddle tunes on saxophone. So I'm fascinated to know how that crossover came about, and I'll be chatting to him about that tonight. So that will be the next interview episode on the podcast. So that's what's going on here. As always, if you want to support Bluegrass Jam Along, you can do that on Apple Podcasts with a subscription, or just share an episode with a friend. Let somebody who loves bluegrass know about this podcast. But let's crack on with the main content of this. And the first section, as always, is the news and announcements, which is the section we call Church Street News. And the first thing is there's a vinyl release of Old and in the Way live at Sonoma State in 1973. And it's coming out as a special record store release day thing for Black Friday. It's going to be a double vinyl. There's 5,500 of them being put out, and it is coming out on the 28th of November, and you can get it via recordstoreday.com. There's info on there. I'll put a link in the show notes. Lots of the stuff. If you're listening to these briefing episodes, do go and check out the show notes, or the info on YouTube underneath, if that's where you're listening, because I'm putting links into all these things. If you're interested in any of this stuff, there's places you can go and find out more. But yeah, Old in the Way, live at Sonoma State, double vinyl, is coming out on the 28th of November. Go and check the link out if you're interested in that. There's a great book that I'm most of the way through now, and I will be talking to the writer about this book on the podcast over the coming weeks. Craig Havikhurst, who I'm sure loads of you know through his journalism, through his radio work, through his podcast, The String. Great journalist, great kind of thinker, writer and talker about music. I'm a big fan of bluegrass and string band music. He's written a book called Musicality for Modern Humans, and it is great. I mean, I've been listening to music all my life. I've studied music, I did a degree in music, I do this podcast. Like, music is something I am very familiar with, and yet he has still managed to write a book on how to listen to music that I've learned things from. And it's reminding me of things, and it's full of interesting thoughts and insights. He's got a great way of summarising and just putting things over and just shining a light on things. I am loving it. There's a link in the show notes to where you can go and buy a copy, and I'm really looking forward to chatting to Craig about this on the podcast in the coming weeks at some point. Craig Havikhurst's Musicality for Modern Humans is the name of the book. If you are looking for a Christmas present for a friend who is a big music fan, or somebody who loves music but feels like they'd like to get into it more deeply, it's a great present. Do go and check it out, or just buy it for yourself. We all deserve a present, right? So that's really cool. Have a look at that. Bryan Sutton's Blue Ridge Guitar Camp is on again next year. Applications open on November the 15th, so that's next week. The instructors this year will be Brian, as always. Jake Eddy's there, Cody Kilby, Avril Smith, John Doyle, who's a great Irish guitar player. He plays with the Transatlantic Sessions Band and with John McCusker, Michael McGoldrick, people like that. Great guitarist. He will be there as well. BlueRidgeGuitarCamp.com for info, but check it out in the show notes. There's a link in there. You can go and have a look at that. I've talked to people who've been to that camp, and I've seen footage of stuff happening there, and it just seems like a joyous thing. So do go and check that out. Next, Energy Curfew Music Hour Season 2. Punch Brothers have been doing this podcast kind of variety show type thing for Audible. They had a series of 8 episodes out earlier this year, and the Season 2 is out now. And each episode involves Punch Brothers playing a bunch of stuff acoustically, no mics, in front of a live audience, but also with some musical guests that they also play with. And the guests on this series are going to include Billy Strings and I'm With Her, amongst a raft of other people. So keep an eye out for that. It's on Audible now. What they did last time was also then release it on other podcast platforms as well, so you will get to hear it elsewhere. But they're really cool. I mean, anybody who's a fan of Chris Thile or Punch Brothers or acoustic music or just, listening to cool stuff, I mean, they're great. They're really, really good. So do keep an eye out for that as well. That is it for the news and announcements. Just give you a quick recap because there's quite a bit in there. There's the Old and In the Way record store release day double vinyl of Live at Sonoma State, Craig Havikhurst's book Musicality for Modern Humans, Bryan Sutton's Blue Ridge Guitar Camp, and the Energy Curfew Music Hour Season 2 set of podcasts from Punch Brothers and Audible. As I said, links in the show notes to all of that. If you want to find out more info, go and check them out. Do go and do that. But next up is new music, which is the section we call The Grass is New. And there's lots of new music to talk about this month. What I tend to do is I focus on stuff that is already out so you can go and listen to it rather than talking about things that aren't out yet. If there's music coming out in the next couple of weeks, I will include it in next month's Bluegrass Briefing so you can hear that. With loads of this stuff, there is a Spotify playlist called The Grass is Mostly New 2025 that I've put together as I go with these, and whenever there's some new stuff in, I put it in. And also some older bits I've listened to as well, but it's mostly new stuff. And there's a link in the show notes. It's on Spotify. Do go and have a listen. It's a great way of sort of finding new music, and you can follow it, and I'll just keep updating it and putting new stuff in there. So each time you go, there'll probably be some new things to hear in there as well. So lots of the stuff I'm mentioning here are in that. As I say, link in the show notes. Go and check that out. First up, Larry Sparks has a new album called Way Back When, and this is his 20th with Rebel Records. Obviously a legend of the music, so do go and check that out if you're a Larry Sparks fan. That is out now. You can listen to that. Caitlin Canty, not necessarily a string band artist, but she was on the podcast a couple of years ago because her last record, Quiet Flame, included various people like Sarah Jarosz and Paul Coet and Brittany Haas, and it very much sort of sat in this space. This one doesn't so much more Americana focused, but I'm going to mention it because she's great and I love it. And it's a new record called Night Owl Envies the Morning Dove. It was out as a physical release a few months ago, and she sort of held back the release on the streaming platforms until October, but that is out now. So do go and have a listen to Caitlin Canty's Night Owl Envies the Morning Dove. With lots of these, I've also put links in the show notes to where you can go and buy these records, whether it's a a digital download or a physical copy. I'm putting links into artists' websites and to Bandcamp. For those of you who do want to go and kind of purchase this stuff, because I know people are increasingly keen to support musicians, and this is a great way of doing it. Next up, a band called Unfaithful Servants, who are from Vancouver Island, that includes the mandolinist Jesse Cobb, who was a founding member of the String Dusters. Their new record is out now called Endless Highway. Go and have a listen to that from the Unfaithful Servants. Brooklyn-based folk kind of bluegrass trio called Damn Tall Buildings also have a new record out. I've mentioned some of their singles previously on the podcast, but their record, The Universe is Hungry, is out now as well. That's Damn Tall Buildings. A couple of banjo-related records. There's a cool new record called Banjovial, which is Ron Block and Damien O'Kane. They've been putting out a series of these records. I think this is the third one now. And they're sort of banjo duets, but covering a really wide range of styles and some really cool stuff. Do go and have a listen to that. That's Ron Block and Damien O'Kane's Banjovial. Wes Corbett, who came on to the podcast a while back now to talk about his previous records, got a new album out called Drift, which I've mentioned on the podcast, but the whole album is out now. Features loads of cool guests: Sam Bush, Casey Campbell, Chris Eldridge, Darryl Anger, Paul Coet, Vicky Vaughan's on there. Love Wes Corbett's stuff. Everybody who listens to this podcast knows that I'm a big fan of the kind of progressive instrumental string band vein of music, and this sort of sits beautifully in there. It's a great album. Do go and listen to Wes Corbett's Drift. Darryl Anger, Diary of a Fiddler 2. Back in 1999, Darryl put out a record called Diary of a Fiddler, which was a load of duets with him and his contemporaries, really. And this is a bookend for that. It's a companion piece focusing on a lot of players that he's either taught or mentored or worked with over the years, kind of the following generation. And it's just fascinating. Darryl is always interesting, and this is a great record. I talked to Darryl about this on the podcast recently, as I spoke about at the top of the episode, so do go and check out Diary of a Fiddler Volume 2. It's on all streaming services. I put a link into Bandcamp if you want to go and buy it. Do check that one out. Somebody else I talked to on the podcast recently who has a new record out is Ben Garnett, and he's got a record called Kites Keep. Again, instrumental stuff. Really, really cool, really nice mix of stuff, sort of some pretty straightforward, some quite soundscapey. They're like a little collection of short stories in audio form. It's fascinating. It sits again within that instrumental thread of stuff, but again in its own little space. Really enjoyed that. So do go and check out Ben Garnett's album Kites Keep, which is out in full now. And finally, Alison Brown and Steve Martin have a new record together called Safe, Sensible and Sane. And that is out now on Compass Records, and I've popped a link in the show notes where you can go and find that on the Compass website. As downloads, physical product. I think they've got some signed copies as well. So do go and check that out. So loads of cool albums out this month. I'll just give you a recap because you've probably already forgotten what I said. But there's a new record from Larry Sparks, Caitlin Canty's new album, The Unfaithful Servants, Damn Tall Buildings, the Ron Block and Damien O'Kane banjo duets record, Wes Corbett's new album Drift, Darryl Anger's Diary of a Fiddler 2, Ben Garnett's Kites Keep, and Alison Brown and Steve Martin's Safe, Sensible and Sane. Again, loads of these have the tracks off lots of these records in the Grass is Mostly New playlist for this year, so check that out. Also some really cool singles out this month. There is a single from Bryan Sutton. Bryan's got a new record, From Roots to Branches, on the way next year, which is kind of a follow-up similar to Darryl's Diary of a Fiddler 2, but Bryan put out a wonderful record not too far from the tree with a bunch of duets with just amazing bluegrass pickers. And this is a follow-up to that. And not only does it include a bunch of stuff with kind of next generation pickers, people like Sierra Hull and Trey Hensley and all of that, but it also includes the first single, which is Working Man's Blues with Doc Watson. Bryan and Doc's recording of Whiskey Before Breakfast won a Grammy from that first record, and it is just an iconic, beautiful recording. But during those sessions, Bryan did other bits with some of those pickers as well, and this is from those sessions, and it's out as a single now, and it's just a lot of fun just hearing them play together. Working Man's Blues with Doc Watson, go and listen to that. There's some more singles coming from that before the record comes. I'll mention those as we go, but yeah, do check that out. Bryan Sutton and Doc Watson's Working Man Blues. Tony Trischka has a new single with Sister Sadie called Maple on the Hill, which is really cool as well. Do go and have a listen to that. That's in the playlist. Benson have a version of Bully of the Town out One of those tunes. It's a tune that you don't always hear people play, but I love it. Sort of comes out of the vocal tradition. It was a very, people like the Everly Brothers, but Norman Blake famously played it, and it's, really cool tune. Go and have a listen to that. And Iron and Wine have a kind of collaboration with I'm With Her out. They toured together recently, and they've got a 3-track EP which is on the streamers, but you can also buy from Bandcamp, which is how I got hold of it. I'm With Her and Iron and Wine, called Songs from the Stage Glenside, and it's I'm With Her and the Iron and Wine band all together. A couple of their songs, one of Iron and Wine's songs, and it's great. It's really, really cool. It sounds like that was an astonishing tour. I would love to have seen that. The kind of singles and EPs that are out at the moment. Bryan Sutton's Working Man Blues with Doc Watson, Tony Trishka with Sister Sadie, Maple on the Hill, Benson's Bully of the Town, and I'm With Her and Iron and Wine's Songs from the Stage EP. Check all those out. There's bits from all of those in the Grass is Mostly New playlist too, so do listen to those. That is it for new releases this week. Again, I'd love to hear from you. Is this too much information in one go, or is this all good? I am really keen to make these episodes useful, so give me some feedback. I'd love to hear it. Moving on, the next section is something called Scroll On Buddy, and that's stuff that I've spotted on social media that I think you might be interested in. And there's a couple of bits that I've spotted. One of them, both mandolin related actually. Sierra Hull, who kind of has played a Gibson mandolin for a long time, now has her own custom signature model called the Gibson Custom Sierra Hull F5G mandolin. I've popped a link in the show notes. You can go and see some beautiful pictures of it and check out all the specs and all that kind of thing. And there are videos on all the social channels of Sierra kind of playing this. Really cool. Sierra's got her own signature mandolin. Go and have a look at that. And the other thing is Chris Thiele. There's a new interview, Rick Beato, on YouTube. Rick asks cool questions. I enjoy his interviews a lot. He asks the kind of questions that musicians ask, and you get some cool answers in his interviews. He's got a 90-minute interview with Chris Thiele up on his YouTube channel. I'm sort of halfway through it at the moment. I need to watch the rest of it tonight. But that's really cool. Really enjoyed that as well. So go and check that out as well. And then the final bit is just really what's been in my ears. I tend to mention what I've been listening to, just to give you some things to maybe get some recommendations or some thoughts about. I've been listening to... So when I went to IBMA a couple of months ago, I went to see George Jackson and Brad Kolodner play kind of banjo and fiddle old-time duets. Really loved that, and I picked up a couple of their CDs there. So I've been listening to Shady Lane, which is their duet record that came out in 2024. Really enjoying that. Some great playing. Really, really cool. But Brad has also got a record called Old Growth, which came out earlier this year, which is him playing a fretless gourd banjo, which is a sound that I really love. And that is also very good. So check out Brad Kolodner and George Jackson's Shady Lane, and also Brad's Old Growth. I've popped some tracks from those in the playlist too. Go and have a listen to those. I've also been listening to an album called Natural Bridge of Bela Flex from the early 80s. And there was a track on there called Daybreak, which is just a duet with him and Jerry Douglas on dobro. And it's such a beautiful thing. I've put it in the playlist so you can go and have a listen, but it's called Natural Bridge, the record, but the track is called Daybreak. And it's just Bela and Jerry like having a musical chat almost. It's so conversational and just really, really cool. I've been listening to that a lot recently. And the latest Watch House record, Rituals, which I sort of meant to listen to when it came out and didn't quite get around to for various reasons. Really enjoying that. There's a track called Glistening on that, which is just the most beautiful thing, especially on headphones. But yeah, absolutely loving that. So that's what I've been listening to. If you've got any recommendations, let me know. I'm always looking for new things to listen to. That is it. That brings us to the end of what are becoming longer Bluegrass Briefing episodes. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you find these useful. All the usual stuff applies. If you want info on what's been on the podcast, go and check out bluegrassjamalong.com. There's a full list of all the interviews on there. You can filter them by instrument, by category, by all sorts of things. Go and find something you might have missed. And also all the chord sheets, all the Jam Along tunes, all the old episodes are on there too. Go and have a look. That is it. I will see you next time. Have a great week and happy picking. Bluegrass Jam Along is proud to be sponsored by Collins Guitars and Mandolins, each and every one built from the sound up in Austin, Texas.